Welcome to this installment of the Minute Mastermind. If you see Jocko, you've gone too far. Turn around, run very fast away because he is a scary, scary man. This is, I think, chapter 5. I wrote a book one time, and there's a chapter in it. It's called "We're Running Our Meeting." And if we run into Jocko, we've run too far because that man's professional.
You need to run past
professional murdering
them.
machine. Yeah, you need to keep running.
You need to run past them.
That's your only chance. Just keep going. Just
keep going and go to the next chapter.
Hope he does not get his hands on you because they are like meat hooks. His forearm is the size of my face. Yeah. Okay. All right. So you'll be very proud of me, Chris. I came back from California. We were gone for a little over 2 months, and I came back and I went to go out on my bike, which I have here in Arizona. I had been riding the scooter all summer, and I got me excited about the bike. I'm going on the bike, and it's so hot here, so hot. But it's like 5 a.m. I'm like, I'm gonna go on the bike, and I go to start the bike, and I turn the thing, and I get it ready, and I go.
No, Brad is not handy.
This is a job for a real man somewhere, but it's not me, right?
I teach Brad how to be handy. He teaches me how to do business.
Yeah. It's a good trade. So long story short, my assistant looked at it. He's like, yeah, I'll figure it out next week. I'm like, I don't want to wait that long. So I went to the store and I paid money for a new battery and I installed it myself.
Go you, Brad. Go
right?
you.
Jasmine helped. I credit where credit's due, you know. She
probably did most of the work.
I was very thrilled with the whole interaction. So maybe I'm not a complete lost cause when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's awesome, man. Well, you're preparing yourself for that trip in May.
That's right.
May,
yeah.
Man.
If you want to see me be not manly in person, then come along on this motorcycle trip with us.
Yeah.
For those of you who didn't know, we did a 10-day motorcycle trip in New Zealand last time where I only wiped out twice. Luckily, I was going very slow, and the people there are very nice. They pulled over their whole bike column and helped me. Total random strangers, very nice people, making sure I wasn't
dead.
That's
bikers, man. That's bikers for you, though.
That was great. I actually wrecked the bike so many times. I didn't think I was going to get my deposit back, but then it actually died on the way back.
Yeah.
To bring it back to the rental place, and they said no, it's fine. It's our fault that the bike screwed up. I was like, okay, I will go with that now. Anyway, so run your meeting. This is how you run your meeting. You do not crash your bike, and you do manly things or womanly things. Whatever you choose is fine. So yeah, running your meeting, chapter 5. Let's get right into it. I'm having fun. We're having fun. I just woke up from a nap. I'm a little silly pants. Okay, so I'm looking at run your meeting. Okay, so a problem well defined is half solved. I got a problem. I don't know who's live on this live. So you got to hashtag live.
Yeah.
Hashtag replay.
Live. Hashtag live. Hashtag replay.
Hashtag goals. So that's Amber. Hi, Amber.
Hi, Amber.
Watching. Haven't talked to her in a while. She's a client, kicking butt, doing things. Here's her story. You can read about it. Okay, so here's a fun acronym that we use from time to time to talk about running our meeting. The goal with the mastermind, and by the way, masterminds always go better than you think they're going to go. Everybody's freaking out about their mastermind, and then they have it, and it's like, oh my God, that went so much better than I thought it was going to. I got a message from a client, Seth. He's like, my beta mastermind went so well, and now I'm freaking out about the new mastermind. I'm like, dude, it's going to go better than you ever think. Just stay at it. Because there's always I think in life, right, generally, there's always that resistance that shows up when you're going to do something that's really important and necessary. And it feels hard in the beginning. Like I'm filling this workshop in November, and I've got 300 people to invite, 250, 300 people to invite. And I'm reaching out 10 or so a day, maybe 15 if I'm feeling anxious or that particular day, get ahead of myself. And people, some will want to come and they can't because the dates, or they really want to come and they're going to move what they got coming on for the dates, or they hate my face and they lose, or they don't get my text, or they don't get my email, whatever. But the ones that are in, and it's exciting. And after a little while, you get a little momentum, and there's some really cool and important and amazing people I've built them, that are coming, that I've built relationships with over the years. And it just reminds me, wow, I built a really cool group of people and they're all coming to this thing. And now you have a list of people that are awesome, in their own right, that I want to meet and people want to meet. And then all it becomes is bullet points of hey, this is, these are the people that are in the room. Do you want to come? ? And then people are like, yeah, I want to come to that. That sounds amazing. That's a great room. Heavy level, high level people. I pinged Dean Graziosi today. He's like, yeah, I want to come to that. And I pinged Oren Claff. He's interested, really high level people want to be in that room. And that's really all it is we all have FOMO. I don't care who you are.
I have FOMO.
Want to be in the room. I have FOMO, right? FOMO. I get FOMO, you get FOMO, we all get FOMO. So, FOMO might mean that you're part of the family office mastermind offer, which is one of our offers. Legitimately, I have a mastermind called the Family Office Mastermind Offer. Or FOMO might just be you want to be in that room. So if you're facing what Seth is facing right now, or what some other people are facing right now, just let the people in the room do the talking, because nothing that you have to share is going to break through people's resistance. Probably. It's very rare, right? Unless it's like very specific and it's very underserved and it's highly in demand and oh my God, it's like life or death. But think about what you're asking people to do and commit to. You're asking them to commit to leaving their family and their kids and the people they love and their comforts and everything and going to a shitty hotel somewhere and flying on a shitty plane and dealing with shitty people and showing up to your thing with the shitty food and all this. Like, and I'm not saying it's shitty. I'm sure it's great, but like all those inconveniences, they're going to put up as many boundaries as possible in their minds to try not to do that. But then FOMO, thank God for FOMO, because FOMO wins every time. Because they'll make it happen. They'll travel across the earth and they'll get there because they don't want to miss out. They want to be in that room with those people. So let that do the work for you. If you're trying to fill your mastermind, just get the awesome people first to say yes. That's the hardest part. And then the rest of the people will say yes because the awesome people are going, which makes an awesome event. And they always go better than you think. So if you're freaking out about running your meeting, just remember, have awesome people and they always go better than you think. So here's our little acronym to help you kind of visualize this. So
before you jump into that, Brad, I just want to pipe one thing in there from my experience. I remember the very first time when you and I, we'd met a few times, we kind of had gotten to know each other a little bit better than just friends. And
we hadn't shared a tent together yet?
No, we hadn't shared a tent, so we hadn't got quite that close.
We weren't that friendly. Okay, got it.
Yeah, we weren't that friendly yet. Oh, I wanted to say, when I joined you and I joined BAM, the Build a Mastermind program, and I had this thing going on, shit, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to talk about in my mastermind? And I remember you turned to me and you said, do you know one thing? And I said, yeah, I know how to train people and I know how to get them to get the most out of themselves. Cool, talk about that. So if you have no experts or no FOMO people in your thing, and you are the FOMO, just talk about that one thing that you know really well.
Yeah, and there's levels to this game, gang. Like wherever you're at, there's people who are impressive to where you're at, comparatively. Yeah. Like they don't have to be
I talked to 6 of them last night. They're all like, "You were a cop for 7.5 years. Oh my God, you can train, you can run, you can run a half marathon without even thinking about."
Yep.
They've got FOMO of where I'm at. So everybody's got FOMO of where you're at. I got FOMO of where you're at, Brad. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is why I'm here. How do I?
And then there's the people like me sometimes who have been to so many events. They have JOMO, which is like the joy of missing out. Like I don't even want to deal with all that. So anyway, but yeah, FOMO works.
Except for motorcycle riding.
Yeah. So yeah. To Chris's point, he had a lot of imposter syndrome. He had to work that out in the beginning. But then eventually you realize like, hey, this is bigger than just you. You're just facilitating what the world and nature and human nature and God and everything wants to happen already. And there's the acronym, right? So seeds and crops. So we're planting seeds and we're growing crops. That's the way I think about it. And seeds stands for seek in every encounter to diagnose, create space, serve, support, and solve. Crops stands for connect them to resources, opportunities, people, and systems that help them further their mission faster. So as I'm talking to these people, as I'm making these invites, some people are in, they're like, yeah, cool, count me in, RSVP, yes. Some people are like, damn, I wish I could go, I can't go. Some people ghost. Some people are skeptical. They have questions. They question my motives. They question humanity. They question, one guy asked me if I was trying to sell him a timeshare. I was very offended by that, but I got over it. And you're going to get all kinds, but the reality is like, try to leave people off better than you found them. All right. You're going to get all kinds of responses. You can't take any of it personally because people have so many preconceived notions about everything and it has nothing to do with you. It has something to do with them, their trauma, their experiences, whatever. Right. But if you can just be you and do the right thing by you and connect people, like just really clearly ask questions until you're clear on what the thing is that you're trying to solve. Like if they have a problem, some people don't have problems, but most people do, or challenges or something they want to move faster on or something they need connections to, like then connect them to the resources, the opportunities, the people, systems. It's not about you and what you know, it's about everybody you've ever met and all the experiences you've ever had and their experiences and their connections. Like it's endless. Like everything in this world is solvable mostly. If it exists, it's possible to solve it. And a mastermind's a great setting to solve it. So seek in every encounter to diagnose, create space, like make sure people feel listened to and heard, serve, support, and solve. And then finally, crops, which is connect them to resource opportunities, people, system to help them further mission faster. And it sounds simple, but in reality, that's your job, is to facilitate a great experience for everybody. They get what they came for, and ideally something that they didn't even expect. There's a great podcast I've been listening to recently. This guy, Andrew Bustamante, he is a former CIA operative who started a podcast, I think in 2018, 2019. And he's just been cranking out these episodes. It's really good. It's gotten really popular now. He's been on Lex Friedman and stuff like that. But I'm like going through his back catalog, and he has this one great episode that if you listen to nothing else, or if you want to like pick one to start with, it's called The Boundary Tax. And it talks about how everybody's always trying to put up walls to experiences and like trying to save their time and put up these boundaries. And in CIA, they have a saying, he talks about, he'll do a better job explaining this than I will, that everybody's worth a cup of coffee. Right? You're out there and you're trying to protect the country. You got all this crazy stuff going on. You have all these resources, and your first judgment might be that somebody's not worth your time, or that this isn't worth your time, or that isn't worth your time. But it can be the most crazy, out of the left field type of things, because great information can come from anywhere. That cracks the whole case wide open. You know, you might have this impossible task you're trying to do from a, intelligence perspective, so everybody's worth a cup of coffee. Worst case scenario, you don't have a second cup of coffee, right? But everybody's worth a cup of coffee. So just take that in mind. Like, there's no boundary that you could set up that's going to protect you. And there's no potential opportunity that is worth completely discounting anything for. That's why I think it's so important just to show up and say yes to things. And, the same thing goes to your mastermind, is like, just remind people like, hey, one deal, one connection, one idea at the right time for you can change your whole life. And I'm resistant. I go to so many masterminds. I know the value of masterminds. I talk about them. I'm resistant to going to people's masterminds, but I do it. I suck it up and I show up and I'm in the room, and I'm always grateful that I went.
Yeah.
Now I am discerning.
Just look for one thing.
Yeah, because I'm looking for one thing. And one thing at my level of business, like one big thing for me can make me 6 or 7 figures, maybe 8, right? At the level I'm playing at. Maybe it ends up being a 9 or 10 figure deal. That's not as common, right? I haven't hit one of those yet, but they're in the pipeline for sure. I'm building the relationships and the ability to do that, and the companies. Like, but one thing, I don't care what level you're at, could easily pay for the masterminds and then some.
Yeah.
And maybe become a thing that you do for the rest of your life. Like, I've launched multiple 7-figure companies out of connections I've made at masterminds. True fact. Yeah. And I will launch many 8 and 9-figure companies in the future, and have other ideas as well that come out of masterminds. I mean, like, having a mastermind is like having a time machine, right? You see things earlier than most people. You always see that meme like, oh, I wish I could go back and buy Bitcoins, Marty. Let's get in the Wayback Machine and go buy Bitcoins. It's like, well, I learned about Bitcoins in 2009.
Yeah.
That's pretty early. Like, that's as good as you're going to get with regard to that particular opportunity. And I did because of masterminds. Same thing with Ethereum. I was buying Ethereum at $8. It's people are like, oh my God, it's going under $1,000. It's dead. I'm like, I bought it at $8, guys. We're cool. And I'm not saying that to brag or impress. I'm just saying like, hey, this is what you get when you build a network. You have a lot of smart people with a lot of eyes on opportunity that you just don't have that many cycles to be able to be everywhere. So having this mastermind helps you do that. Cool.
Somebody asked what the podcast name was again.
It's called, great question. It's called Everyday Espionage with Andrew Bustamante.
There you go.
And his website is everydayspy.com. And before you ask, yes, I have emailed him, and no, I have not heard a response yet. So hopefully he'll get back to me one day when he's not so busy, and we'll be able to do a recording. And I think he's a fascinating guy. I love his podcast. At the very least, he's an interesting cat. So, and thank you for the question. Okay. So we've got our format here. This is kind of the meat of the 8-minute mastermind. We're not going to dive into that right now. We've talked about that other places. So should we talk about the iceberg analogy, or should we wait for another podcast on that? Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I like the iceberg one. I just talked about that last night on my masterclass. It was fun.
There's more stuff in that chapter. I would recommend checking out the book. It's 8minutemastermind.com. If you don't have it already, check it out. So the iceberg analogy. So picture an iceberg in your brain. When you got it, let me know. Okay, got it? Boof. Okay, mastermind. So you have the little island where the penguins hang out. That's the top of the iceberg. Then you have the shoreline where there's water and the rim. And then like way below the surface, there's all the rest of the iceberg. It's like 90% of the iceberg's under the surface. This is kind of like how a problem shows up. What I mean by that is like, you can only really see scratch the surface of the problem. And if you just, I don't know, sent a missile, like you want to destroy that problem, you like aim it at that island and you give the penguins enough warning so they could scuttle off and dive into the water and save themselves. And you blew up the top of that iceberg. Well, there's still like 80-90% of the iceberg that's still going to be floating there. Like you haven't really destroyed the iceberg. When in reality, like if you could see the whole iceberg, you can maybe launch a guided torpedo at it. Or this analogy is getting off the rails. What I'm saying is a well understood and defined problem is half solved. So if you can really get underneath the water there and see what that whole problem is, if you can get the whole iceberg, you can see what the problem is, and then you can ultimately decide how to solve it. And once you get clarity on a particular situation, on a particular problem, generally speaking, most people are smart enough to know what to do next if they are really clear on what's actually going on. That's why it's so important not to just aim at the problem as you think it is. Like people will say, oh, here's my problem. And then people will be like, oh, you should do this. You should do that. You should do that. I say, hold on a second. Let's ask a bunch of questions. Let's get really clear on what the actual problem is, because it's generally not what they think it is, or it would have been solved already. I don't think problems exist because people are incapable of solving them. I think they're just unclear on what the problem actually is, or they're aiming at the wrong thing, or they're not categorizing it properly, or they're not explaining it well enough to themselves. They can't see it because they're too close to it. But when you bring it into a group and you start asking questions, you start picking it apart, the whole iceberg becomes available to view. And now you can see, okay, well, there's the destructo button and poof, there it goes. And don't worry about the penguins. They'll find another iceberg to hang out on. There's always another problem to solve.
Always.
Always another problem to solve. So yeah, that's the iceberg analogy generally. But the idea here is we got a lot of cool stuff in this chapter. Okay.
The thing with the iceberg is you just got to dig into it. What would be the absolute best way to blow up an iceberg? Figure out where the core is.
I'm going to go with nuclear torpedo.
I don't even think it would be.
Or Bruce Willis's team from Armageddon, but in scuba suits, they dive under and then they drill into it.
This is what I was going to say is the best
way
to do it is
kind of sentient, so it goes,
yeah, figure out the core of the iceberg.
But don't worry, Ben Affleck's going to show up and save the day, and Bruce Willis.
Yeah, he'll save the day. He'll save the day, and what is it?
Not only can you marry my daughter, but I'm going to save your life, so you can.
Billy Bob. No, it wasn't Billy Bob Thornton. Who was the guy who rides the torpedo like a horse?
Was it McConaughey? That movie's so old; it could have been anybody. There's so many young actors.
I can't remember who it was. It was some crazy guy. But yeah, you might think that drilling into the core is actually in the top section. It isn't. It's underneath the water.
So in 1998, Amazon was 4 years old. Google was a year old. Facebook didn't exist yet. YouTube didn't exist yet. And the .com crash had not yet happened.
What crash?
The .com crash. So if blockchain is where the internet was then it's still very early. Just saying.
Helena made a comment that we're geeks. So
we are geeks. Hi, Helena. We were just talking about you before
the guy riding the nuclear torpedo was Steve Buscemi.
Buscemi.
That's the guy.
Yeah. He's great.
He goes crazy. It's awesome. That's us.
Yeah, that's his shtick, though. Like he did that in Con Air. He did that in that movie. He goes crazy, and I don't want to ruin it, but if you've never seen Horace and Pete, which is a Louis C.K. produced show, well, not like scary crazy. It's fun to be a little crazy, like a wild card. That's different kind of crazy. Like if you're just crazy, dangerous, that's not as fun.
Yeah, I'm just like motivational crazy.
So, what did we learn today? Okay, so to be fair,
no, I found a better road than that one, even Brett.
A better one than that one? Because that one was pretty epic. Plus, you're on the side of a cliff trying to navigate this thing the whole time. So you're like falling over on the side of a cliff.
I found a better one for you over here. So next time you come over here, I'll take you on that one.
Yeah, we're gonna do that trip again. That was a super fun trip.
Hey, what I will say though is in torrential rain, where we could not even see like
that's right
30 yards in front of us, you didn't wipe out. So
I did not.
There you go.
Yeah, gravel. Just gravel is not my friend. So yeah, remind me. It's Arizona, Utah.
So we're gonna start Arizona. We're gonna do Arizona. We're gonna go into Utah. Go to Moab. Do that area. Then we're gonna go up into the hills of Colorado for a day. Then back down into the desert, and we're gonna go into New Mexico, and then we're gonna go back to Arizona.
So we're doing 4 states. Okay, cool.
May 20th till the 26th.
If you've gotten value out of this, let us know. If you have questions about masterminds, always fire away. We do these lives once a week. Every once in a while, when there's a lot of questions, we do a Q&A. If you missed your answer to a question from the last Q&A, we actually did one last week. And then finally, if you are interested in building your own mastermind, like Helena is doing, and like Chris did, and like I've done a bunch of times, and we have a lot of great clients that have come through the course, head on over to buildamastermind.com/schedule-now. That's buildamastermind.com/schedule-now. And we will get you on our calendars and we can have a chat.
Sounds good.
Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon, Helena. Thanks for joining us. I'll talk to you guys soon.